Welcome to Successful Living with Bill Napick. Every week we talk about success and everything that goes along with it. You'll learn the principles of success, how to achieve success, and learn to overcome challenges that may be getting in the way of success in your life. You'll hear from Bill Napick, a radio personality and business development expert, along with insight from special guests. If you're ready to find your path to success or take the success you're enjoying to the next level, stay tuned. Successful Living with Bill Napick is on right now.
Welcome, everyone. Successful Living. You have tuned into a great radio show. We think we talk about many things that deal with success. We talk about a lot of the categories in life. And today, once again, one of my favorite categories is music. We're going to hit that. We have a gifted artist, Greg Giacona. He's a great player and a great friend. Greg, thanks and welcome to the show.
Hey, Bill. Thanks so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Well, tell the listeners, if you would, Greg, first of all, the company name. What is the company that you have?
It is Worldwide Music Production.
Right here in Houston, Texas?
Right here in Houston.
And we know people listen all over the country to the show, certainly here in Houston. But give us an idea, with your company, what exactly do you do?
I do music production services. I produce singers and songwriters who come to me with a song idea. Maybe it's a basic song that they've written on their guitar or keyboard, and they really don't have anything more than just the bare bones. They probably have lyrics. They might not have all the lyrics. They might not have a bridge in the song. It could be just a verse and a chorus idea. And I help shape the song. I quite often take part in the song structure, the song format. And, you know, being a pianist, I can help and a writer, I can help shape the song and make it something palatable and marketable. Because really the bottom line is these people want to market this music. So I help shape the song. I add in elements of things like drums, bass, sounds, strings, keyboard, sounds of the orchestra. I'm using modern technology, using the Apple Macintosh platform to create full-sounding productions. I also bring in live people to play things like saxophone, guitar, other singers to add parts. So the end result is a very polished sound. And that's pretty much how it's done today in the industry.
I think that's also a great service, and some people may not even know that the service you provide exists, because a lot of us, musicians and non-musicians alike, we have ideas, and sometimes, let's say a singer, like you're saying, they have an idea, but they need that development. They need that idea to evolve, so they go to a pro like yourself.
Right. That's it. So I'm able to kind of offer that service. Actually, what they're paying for when they come to see me is my vision. They're paying for my taste that I hopefully bring to the table, and my chops at the keyboard, and able to produce parts on the record that sound like a finished record, and it's quite often it will save them a lot of money over, say, going to Nashville, going to LA, New York, where you're going to pay $5,000 and $10,000 a song to get it produced, where I'm a fraction of that, because I'm kind of a one-man show. Of course, we can add in other people as the budget permits. We can add in other people, but I'm able just myself to create a full sounding project and do it kind of on a budget, and then I also mix and master.
Well, give us an idea, too, Greg, as you play the piano. When did you first get interested in music, and when did you choose, of all the instruments, and I do think the piano and organ are the greatest, but when did you choose the piano, and when did you begin
I have my parents
playing?
To thank for this. This goes way back when I was about 5 or so years old. My parents put me into music lessons, piano lessons. My mom and dad are both very, very musical. They love music. My father came from Italy, and he brought a great music of the classics. A great love of the classical genre, the symphony and the orchestra, opera, piano music. I grew up playing classical piano from age 5 or 6, and then I found jazz in grade school, and I fell in love with jazz. I'm a big jazz guy. I love it. Grew up, I guess, from 9th or 10th grade forward, I really turned towards jazz and still play a lot of jazz, still play a lot of classical. I do believe classical piano is the basis for what has made me what I am at the piano. I do believe it's the bones of what I do,
So for someone starting out, it's not a bad way to go, is to
I
learn
recommend
that classical music.
It's the hard way down the road. It's the bumpier road. It's more challenging, and people tend to want to quit when they face the daunting challenge of all the scales and the theory and the classical piano. but it is really the best school to be a total pianist. It'll give you better technique, a better sense of harmony, a better knowledge of harmony. And then from that springboard, you can jump into whatever you want to do: pop, rock, gospel, country, blues, jazz. It's all easy from there.
Well, as we're talking about those components and playing the piano, let's talk a bit about playing solo piano.
You bet.
Okay, and let's say we're going to go the jazz style, or we're taking a rock song, and I've seen people do this, and I've done it myself. You take a rock song and flavor it, season it so that it has a nice jazz sound, and you're playing by yourself. What are the things that you're thinking about when you're taking just a simple song and making it more exciting?
That's a great question. I have done many, many years of playing, piano bar type jobs where it's just me at the piano, and that's it. There's no bass, there's no drums. And I'm glad for it because it has really honed my skill and my ability. But you do wear a different ball cap when you're playing solo versus playing in a band. When you're playing keyboard or piano in a band role, you're simply playing a part. You're trying to stay out of the way of the bassist. You're trying to stay out of the way of the drummer. And you're playing harmony, and you're filling in the chordal harmony, and you might play a little fill here and then. But at piano solo, when you're playing piano solo, you have to be really the trio. You have to be aware of the bass note. You have to be aware of the time keeping, which is the drummer's job usually. You have to be aware of there's 4 roles: the bass note, the time keeping, the harmony, and the melody. And you have to kind of cover all those bases when you're playing solo.
With 2 hands.
With only 10 fingers. It's doable. It took me a while to kind of get that down, but I think that's the mark of a great pianist, that you can cover all those bases and it sounds like the original, and people know what you're playing without having to wonder. So I do a lot of Beatles stuff like that, and a lot of pop songs. Golly, the list is long,
Well, okay, let's take any Beatles song, but when you take that Beatles song and let's say you're playing again solo and you're seasoning it from the rhythm standpoint, what are you thinking about with that left hand, and also with the harmonies to make it other than just the triad or
such
the
great
simple
questions.
chords?
Thank you for asking those great questions. As a jazz guy, my natural leaning is to put a jazz twist on stuff. So I really enjoy jazz voicings, which involve going beyond the triad. Now I'll get a little theory heavy on this bit, but let's just go there. Most basic rock and roll music is based on triadic harmony, which is just the root, third, fifth, very basic triadic type sounds. When you go beyond that, adding 7th, 9th, 11th, 13th, you get into the jazzier chordal colors. And I really enjoy trying to dress up songs with those new colors, and they give them a fresh twist. Some people might say, "Oh, that's not being true to the original." That's one point of view, but I think doing that creates kind of a new angle on a standard. And I pretty much honor the melody, and I pretty much honor the basic harmony, but I really enjoy taking a pop song and kind of turning it on its ear and making it more jazzy. And the Beatles, for example, those songs lend themselves more than others to a jazz treatment. Other things like maybe Journey or like a rock song might not work as well in that regard, but certain songs you can jazz them up. I'm a big fan of like Bruce Hornsby and Elton John, Billy Joel, Manilow, all the big greats that played piano in the 70s and 80s, and I grew up with all that stuff. So I play all that catalog, but I try to put a little jazzy twist to it when I can, and if it's tastefully done.
Now, an artist that you and I have talked about through the years as we have played together.
Oh yeah,
Gino Vannelli. How about that guy?
Gino is my hero. Gino Vannelli. I got to tell you, when I think back over all the people that I listened to throughout my career, and I measure them against Gino. Gino's the top of the heap. He's not that well known in this country. He had a couple of big hits. I guess three big hits in the 70s, and in the very early 80s, he had his final hit. And it's just incredible stuff from Gino. I think he's probably the finest male voice out there still. He's 63 today. I saw him in New Orleans a couple years ago in New Orleans when he was touring for his 60th birthday. And the guy sings like he's 22. He sings like he's still in his 20s. It's amazing. So yeah, I think Gino's top of the heap. His songwriting, his production, the depth of his lyrics, the sound of his voice, the sound of his records, they're timeless. I'm a big fan.
The arrangement of his songs are
Incredible.
So interesting.
Very
I mean,
much.
A lot of artists and a lot of songs and music I know I've heard the first time. I think we go through an evolution of liking a song. If you are going to like it, you hear it one time and it sounds one way, but then it grows on you. And Gino Vannelli's songs are really
they
super
stand
interesting.
the test of time. There's something about And there's always a hidden nugget you can find in his music that pops out again. And I don't ever tire. There's 2 albums that I'll just mention, Brother to Brother and the one that followed that, which is called Nightwalker. And I've heard them both hundreds of times.
I have too. And another thing that stands out on his albums, and I think it's in particular the Nightwalker, is that he's got great hair.
He's got big hair too.
He's got big hair. But
at least he used to.
Right. But the percussion on it, whoever the drummer is on that,
Gino was a drummer in his youth. He was a drummer first. So he has a knack for hiring the best drummers.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll be reaching out to Gino later in the year. Maybe he can come on and join us.
That'd be great.
In the meantime, Greg, we're going to hear a song on the break, and this one is called
Crossing the Golden Gate. This was inspired by my driving across the actual Golden Gate Bridge to go see my uncle who lives out there in that part of the world in the Bay Area. Beautiful,
very nice area.
Yeah, and just it's such a scenic view that this melody and vibe kind of popped into my head. So when I got back to Houston, I started writing this song.
Well, very good. We're going to take a short break, listeners, and we're going to hear Crossing the Golden Gate.
You're listening to Successful Living with Bill Napick. As a well-known speaker and business development expert, Bill will coach you to help bring your business to the next level. In addition to being your go-to source for expert advice on making your business more successful, be sure to call Bill, known as Houston's title guy, to help you close your real estate transaction. Bill's attention to detail and standards of excellence, coupled with Stewart Title's financial stability and strength, will ensure a great experience closing your real estate transaction. All title representatives are not the same. When you are making such an important investment as real estate, you want the best. You want Bill Napick working for you. Call him at 713-210-9767. That's 713-210-9767. Now, get ready for more motivation and inspiration. Successful Living with Bill Napick is coming back right now.
Welcome back, everyone. Successful Living with Bill Napick. That's me, Bill Napick, here with gifted musical artist Greg Giacona. Greg, boy, what a great song. Tell us a little bit more about that tune, the Crossing the Golden Gate.
Sure. Yeah, it's just such a beautiful part of the world. I just love California. Not so much the politics, but I love the vibe, and I love the scenery and just the smell of the ocean, and the people are great out there. My uncle lives out there. My uncle, who is from Italy, like my father, he came to California in the mid-'70s, and I've been out there to visit him more than once, and I just love the area, and the area just inspired this cool vibe.
It is a cool vibe, and I think we're a lot of places that are great to be and to look at, and oceans and mountains and things like that. Those are great tools for inspiration.
Sure, they certainly are.
I know here in Houston, even though we don't have any of that, but sometimes we could even be inspired right here in Houston, Texas.
That's
in the meantime, if someone wants to get that song or get the album, where would they go?
They can purchase it off of my website, which is greggiacona.com, and I'll go ahead and spell that out, each letter, GregGiacona.com. And that's my artist site, and they can order it through that site.
Yeah, that's a great album and a great song.
Thank you.
And also, let's hear another one of your songs, Greg, and this one is called The Open Road.
The Open Road.
So tell us a little bit before we play it, what you were thinking in this song, The Open Road.
You bet. I'm a car nut.
Sounds like we're driving again.
Yeah, there's a common theme here, isn't there? I'm just a car guy. I've always been a car guy, and bikes these days too. I also ride motorbikes. I love them. And I just started. I was at the piano one day, just playing around. This is how the songs I create are born, from just sitting at the piano, and I just sit down and start noodling with a certain feeling in mind. And I was thinking about driving, and then this song emerged. And it kind of happened pretty quickly. It's a pretty big composition that I created in about probably 20 minutes. It just kind of flowed out of me. And so, yeah, it's just directed towards and meant for use when driving.
Well, let's check it out. It is called The Open Road.
There you go. Go for it.
Listen to music, and on that song in particular, all songs have sections to it, and bridges and different sections, and I like how that one kind of ramps up right back to the idea of driving again, where you're preparing for that drive, and then you just take off and keep moving.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's like driving. There's stops and starts, and so that's what the song does. And plus, I think the mark of any good song is one that will never leave you bored, and there's always like a new Easter egg to be found. And that's what I strive for when I create and compose, and not just for me but for my clients that come in and hire me, is to make the song always interesting, never dull, never boring.
Absolutely. Well, Greg, as people, let's say, that are listening in Houston, if they want to see you play somewhere, where can they go, and how would they reach you? Is that on your website as well?
It's it's not, but I can talk about it. I do a vocal duo act with a guy named Bubba, and we go by Bubba and Greg. Clever, right? And we do 3 public jobs a month, 2 in Houston, 1 in Galveston. The 2 in Houston are at the Oak Room, which is next to the old brownstone off of near Kirby at Westheimer, and we're there once a month. It'll be on their schedule, the Oak Room. And then we do once a month at Mr. Peoples, which is a steakhouse in Midtown, which is Bagby near Gray. And then we do one Friday a month down in Galveston. But I think the one coming up, our next one is July 25th in Galveston at M&M Restaurant and Grill, and so also, we do that as well.
Another thought too, if someone would like to have use your services just to say play piano, solo piano, because you do so well at that. I love to hear you play.
Yeah, thank you.
So you will do that as well.
I am
right?
for hire. I book through agents here in the city, but I also book direct. If you want to reach me, you can find me. There's a couple ways you can reach me. I'll just go ahead and give out my personal cell, 281-748-6400. Again, that's 281-748-6400.
All right, and as I mentioned, Greg, the solo piano. Let's go back again to that solo piano performance. For people out there listening that want to improve their playing or just be inspired again, as we talked about, we talked about some of the harmonies and things that you think about. What about the rhythm? Because again, that solo piano player, when we play solo, we have to keep it going.
Yeah, you do.
And how do we do it where it's not boring?
Implication.
And what do you
is how
what do you
think
think
about? You have to imply time, even if you're not playing every eighth note. Like a guy on drums is going to be playing eighth notes on the hi-hat, right? Always, or 16ths on the, or whatever, or on the ride. But as a pianist, you have to. I've found that you don't want to hammer away every eighth note on the piano. It's too much.
It'd be boring.
So and it's just too much. So you want to imply time, never falling out, never leaving the actual time grid, but you want to imply with your bass line and with your rhythmic mid voicings. What is the groove? Is it straight? Is it swung? Is it an eighth? Is it a 16th groove? And this can be done. I could do it better if I had a piano here. I could play it for you. But it's just, you just want to imply the groove. And the groove could be anything from a swing jazz. It could be as a hard eighth rock vibe. It could be a very like a Latin bossa. All these things are put across to the listener via the vibe that you create. And it's all done through time. It's a rhythmic thing, and it almost can't be taught. Really, well, my teachers throughout, as I learned from young guy up to now, has just been listening to the greats. I'm a big advocate of listening to the greats out there, and I'm talking about in the jazz genre, Bill Evans, Chick Corea, Oscar Peterson, Herbie Hancock, Bud Powell, Art Tatum. All those guys are just must listens if you're going to be a jazz guy.
So sometimes we can learn, and when we listen to someone that, let's going back to that solo piano, we listen to one of those great players play solo. Yeah. How do we, other than hearing what they play, can we listen to that and then try to do it ourselves? Is that how we absorb it? And
that's what we do as humans. We model after things that we see and hear. So I model my thing after a lot of people in the pop realm. I'm a big fan of Dave. There's three Daves that I enjoy at the piano: David Foster, Dave Grusin, and David Benoit, the jazz guy. David Benoit, David Foster, and Dave Grusin. Those are the three Daves.
There you go.
Yeah, and they're really outstanding pianists in their own right. They're different. Of course, Foster now is a famous producer. He's got a lot going on, and he's a great producer. He can do anything at the piano, but he's known not just for piano chops, but for great artist production. So he's one of my big role models, David Foster.
Interesting. Now, for those that are, let's say, just started, someone young, someone at any age that may have just began their piano lessons, what encouragement would you give them? Because it's not easy.
It's a real, it's a tough road. I mean, piano, if you don't begin when you're young, piano, and we're just like, this is just about playing the piano, okay? It's a tough road. It can be very challenging, and you can want to quit and give up. I have two sisters who played also from childhood. One of them gave up. The other still plays a little bit. I was the weird guy that kept playing. But you have to have faith, you have to have perseverance, and you have to love it. And I've always loved piano, and I was always challenged by it. I think the main thing about me is I'm a challenge-oriented guy, and I wanted to conquer it, kind of in a sense. So I kept going with it, and I kept trying to figure out the inner workings, the nuts and bolts of music theory, how the piano keyboard's laid out, how these different voices can occur, different styles can occur. And it was just a mystery that I wanted to help unfold, basically.
Very nice. Greg, tell the listeners once again your website and the album that we heard. Those two songs are off an album called We Dream as One.
There are a couple sites that I will just give out again briefly. My artist site where you can book me and you can buy my CD is greggiacona.com. That's spelled GregGiacona.com. Then my business site, if you want to book me in the studio, that is worldwidemusicproduction.com. There's no S there, so it's worldwidemusicproduction.com, and that is where you can book me to work on your personal project. I will produce your record and make you a star. I don't know about the star part, but I'll make you sound great for sure.
Well, you'll help evolve that idea and move that idea along.
That's correct.
Thank you so much, Greg Giacona.
You bet.
Great musician, excellent artist. You're listening to Successful Living with Bill Napick. Once again, we took a musical journey, talked to a great musician. We always talk about great things, great people, and sometimes we have business as our category, all kinds of things in life. We always hope that we bring forth at least one thing, two, maybe more, that help you make your life a little bit better, a little more interesting, more fun, more successful. No doubt about it, and music is one of those great things. Hey, one of these days we're going to be talking about food, too, one of my other favorite things. In the meantime, check us out, Successful Living with Bill Napick. Go to kkht.com and hear all the shows, or Bill Napick's radio shows. That's my YouTube channel. Check it out, and thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Thank you, Greg. Your host, Bill Napick. Thank you for listening to Successful Living. Glad you tuned in. Also want to tell you about another radio show here in Houston as we talk about real estate. I host a show at 1 o'clock every Saturday on 100.7 FM called Real Estate Matters with Stuart Title. You can hear it every Saturday, 1 o'clock on 100.7 FM. Hear great real estate talk. If you're buying or selling or just want to know what's going on in Houston, you can hear insights from real estate professionals. You can also hear the show at stewart.com/Houston, the archive of shows at stewart.com/Houston. Check it out.